On March 21, 1935, the international community received a highly unusual directive from this man. Reza Shah Pahlavi issued a formal decree to the world. He demanded that foreign diplomats, cartographers, and governments immediately and permanently erase the name Persia from the global map. This is a map showing the peak footprint of the Persian Empire. It stretched from the borders of India all the way to the mountains of Greece. At its height, it contained 44. If you are a modern leader trying to project strength, why would you actively demand the world throw away one of the most successful, universally recognized names in human history? Because to the people living there, the name Persia was never a point of native pride. It was a 2 millennia-old mapping error forced upon them by outsiders. The term Persia was actually a Greek invention. It derived from Persis, or Pars, which was really just one small southern province where the empire's founder was born. Applying that name to the entire region is exactly like calling the entire United States Texas. That founder was a man named Cyrus. In 559 BCE, he led a collection of nomadic tribes to break away from the dominant Median Empire, launching a rapid wave of expansion. His approach to conquest was highly unusual for the ancient world. When Cyrus captured the mighty city of Babylon, he refused to enslave or slaughter the defeated population. Instead, he freed the enslaved Jewish people, allowed them to return to Jerusalem, and even financed the rebuilding of their temple. Under his successors, the empire operated on a very clear, pragmatic social contract. As long as a conquered territory paid taxes and kept the peace, citizens could pray to whoever they wanted and speak whatever language they chose. This early model of human rights served a calculated function. It was the essential administrative architecture required to keep nearly half the globe from rising up in rebellion. Eventually, the empire set its sights on a fractured collection of city-states in the west. This sparked the Greco-Persian Wars, locking the two civilizations in a bitter, century-long rivalry. That rivalry birthed their first existential threat. In 330 BCE, a young Macedonian king named Alexander shattered the Persian army, chased down their final ruler, and burned their magnificent capital city of Persepolis to the ground. But the local culture operated a lot like a deeply rooted oak tree. Invading armies could burn away the surface branches, but the root system remained completely intact, ready to sprout new growth. A far more dangerous test arrived centuries later. In the 7th century, newly united Arab armies swept out of the southern deserts under the banner of Islam, collapsing the exhausted empires in their path. Across the Middle East and North Africa, in former Roman territories like Egypt and Syria, the invaders brought a total administrative replacement. The native local languages died out entirely, swapped for Arabic. Yet the locals in this specific mountainous region responded differently. They accepted the Islamic religion of their conquerors, but they deployed a highly effective passive defense mechanism to refuse cultural extinction. In the 10th century, a poet named Ferdowsi dedicated 30 years of his life to writing an epic called the Shah-Namah, or the Book of Kings. The structural genius of this massive text was intentional. Ferdowsi recorded the entire mythic and historic past of the empire, almost entirely without using Arabic loanwords, single-handedly saving his native language from dying out. The result was a remarkable cultural inversion. The supposedly conquered locals eventually forced the ruling Islamic caliphates to adopt their native architecture, their methods of government, and even their style of dress. This deep cultural resilience culminated in the 16th century, when the Safavid dynasty made a highly calculated geopolitical pivot. They established Shia Islam as the official state religion, permanently separating themselves from their Sunni neighbors and creating a rigid, protective firewall around their territory. Fast forward to the 19th and early 20th centuries, and that ancient prestige was completely gone. The once massive empire was now struggling as a weak, economically degraded state. They found themselves trapped as a pawn in a bitter geopolitical standoff known as the Great Game, squeezed tightly between two aggressive, expanding foreign powers. This map shows the global reach of the British Empire, which actively exploited the region from the south, aggressively pumping its newly discovered oil fields dry. And this map shows the Russian Empire, applying simultaneous, heavy-handed territorial pressure along their entire northern border. The proud descendants of Cyrus the Great had been stripped of their autonomy. Foreign powers treated the region as a vast resource basin to be carved up and consumed, ignoring its sovereign reality. Enter Reza Shah Pahlavi. Seizing power in the 1920s, the military commander launched a desperate campaign to throw off foreign influence, modernize the infrastructure, and restore dignity to the country. To do that, he realized he had to change the very lens through which the international community viewed them. He needed to shed the inaccurate Greek label that framed his people purely through a Western historical perspective. In their native tongue, since the ancient days of the Zoroastrians, the people living there had always called their homeland Aranshar, which evolved into Iran. The term directly translates to the land of the Aryans, effectively meaning the land of the noble ones. The 1935 decree stood as a defiant reclamation of an ancient identity. After surviving fire, conquest, and economic exploitation, the nation finally forced the world to acknowledge exactly who they had been all along.